Breaking news. In a move that has stunned the Formula One world, Alpine has officially confirmed its complete buyout by none other than Christian Horner for a staggering $665 million. Just days after the 2025 Abu Dhabi GP closed out the season, this bombshell announcement has sent shockwaves through the paddock. And now, all eyes are on what this means for Red Bull, Alpine, and most importantly, Max Verstappen.
Welcome to F1 News Inside the F1. We are throwing out the usual playbook, listeners, because the grid didn't just detonate, it fractured along its most critical fault lines.
It really did.
Forget every single assumption you held about driver lineups, team stability, and the established power structures of Formula One.
Everything has changed.
This is not about marginal gains on the track. The defining battle of the next era is a civil war, and its architect is Christian Horner.
That is the only way to frame this. What we are covering today transcends mere sports reporting. This is arguably the most important season-defining development to hit the sport in a decade.
In a decade, easily.
Precisely because it is a calculated, aggressive, and highly funded transfer of power that has ignited chaos at the very pinnacle of F1.
It's not just a rivalry anymore.
No, this is a hostile takeover that fundamentally redefines competitive warfare.
And here's the core, staggering news delivered straight into your headphones. Christian Horner has officially purchased Alpine for a breathtaking, unprecedented figure.
Go on, say the number. It's almost unbelievable.
£665 million. $665 million.
Just staggering.
This deal was secretly sealed, signed, and delivered just weeks before the 2026 Australian Grand Prix, blindsiding the entire paddock.
Nobody saw it coming.
This is not corporate maneuvering. This is a tactical strike executed with clinical precision, and it is already exposing deep existential fractures within the sport's reigning powerhouse, Red Bull Racing.
The magnitude of that figure, $665 million, is the first thing that demands our attention. It instantly tells you this is not a passion project or some kind of phased retirement for Horner.
No, this is an assault.
It is a full-scale assault on the F1 establishment. It fundamentally changes the competitive landscape, instantaneously transforming a struggling midfield challenger into a direct, hyper-funded threat.
And for you, the loyal listener, our mission is to cut through the noise and analyze the consequences.
We are going deep on the mechanics of the betrayal, the secretive financial backing that made this, impossible deal happen.
And the legal battles. They're already underway in Salzburg and Milton Keynes.
And of course, the truly shocking immediate consequences this has for Max Verstappen and the stability of Red Bull Racing.
Our mission is simple and direct. We are analyzing what this unprecedented event means for the 2026 grid. What can happen now that Team Horner is a fully financed operational reality with access to the highest levels of competitive intelligence?
So we're skipping the preamble.
We skip the preamble, we go straight into the detailed facts, the incredible drama, and the expert analysis of this $665 million bombshell. Let's unpack this financial earthquake right now.
Let's do it.
The first pillar of this story is the sheer scale and audacity of the acquisition itself. Our sources define this not just as a large deal, but as the most aggressive team acquisition in decades.
And it is.
We are talking about $665 million changing hands for a team that, frankly, spent the last 2 years struggling to make it into the top 6.
Which is what makes the price so revealing.
This is not a small investment. This is a declaration of intent backed by staggering wealth.
And we absolutely must stress that specific price point. $665 million. In a world with a financial regulations cap limiting spending on performance, this price tag is reflective of 3 things.
Okay.
First, the physical infrastructure Horner acquired, the advanced Enstone factory, and the vital Vary engine facility. Second, the guaranteed grid slot, which is priceless.
Of course.
And third, crucially, the premium he paid for speed and control. Horner was not willing to go through the 2 to 3 years of bureaucratic startup time required for a new entry.
He wanted to hit the ground running.
He wanted an established, albeit underperforming, footprint he could immediately weaponize. The aggressive nature isn't just the cost, it's the timing. Yeah. Dropping this bombshell just days before the Christmas break.
It's savage. It gives Red Bull minimal time to strategically or legally react before the new season's preparatory phase.
Minimal time. He purchased the ability to compete instantly.
That makes sense. But here is the critical puzzle piece we need to solve. Horner's mechanism. I mean, how did a team principal, however successful, suddenly muster $665 million? This was not a transparent corporate takeover backed by a single major bank or manufacturer, and that secrecy is central to understanding his long-term strategy.
That lack of transparency is the real story here. The mechanism reveals the true calculating nature of the operation. Horner executed this acquisition through a complex, layered network of what the sources repeatedly call shadow corporations.
Shadow corporation.
And high-profile private equity backers. These entities are strategically registered in key tax havens, specifically the Middle East, Singapore, and Monaco. This is highly sophisticated financial engineering.
Let's pause there and clarify for the listener. What does the use of shadow corporations in these specific geographic locations imply? I mean, what does it say about the investor's anonymity and Horner's desire for operational independence?
It implies everything. In traditional F1, teams are owned by, OEMs like Mercedes or Ferrari, or by a dominant corporate entity like Red Bull. When private equity gets involved, especially through offshore entities, the goal shifts. These aren't investors looking for automotive synergy. They are looking for rapid, high-yield returns on a luxury, high-control asset.
So they want to stay in the background.
They demand anonymity because they often have complex, diverse portfolios, and they trust Horner, the operator, to deliver the financial upside without corporate interference.
And the locations are key.
The geographical spread Middle East for sovereign wealth, Singapore and Monaco for high net worth individuals, ensures minimal regulatory scrutiny from traditional European financial bodies and maximizes the operational independence Horner craves.
So the analysis is that the investors are essentially leasing the team to Horner. They supply the staggering wealth, he supplies the proven formula for winning, and the ruthlessness needed to execute the turnaround.
Precisely.
And he avoids the interference he was constantly fighting against at Red Bull.
Precisely. If we connect this directly to the bigger picture, it validates Horner's long-standing frustration in Salzburg. He was constantly struggling with a corporate structure that often valued brand image or internal politics over immediate, flexible decision-making.
The kind you need to win in F1.
The kind you need for F1 success.
Yeah.
By structuring this Alpine deal through these anonymous, geographically dispersed shadow corporations, he has created an ownership structure where he is the sole visible face and operational head.
He answers to no one but the money.
He answers only to a silent, incredibly wealthy private equity network that wants one thing: championships and the subsequent valuation increase.
And that brings us to the shocking rivalry aspect. We're talking about the man who won 7 constructors' titles with Red Bull, who established that entire dominant culture.
The whole thing.
Now controlling a rival factory team. This isn't just a competitor. It's a structural clone built by the original architect.
This is more than a challenge. It's a direct institutional replication of Red Bull's war machine, utilizing intimate knowledge of the enemy's operational philosophy.
He knows where the bodies are buried.
He knows the culture, the weak spots, and the winning formula. He is now utilizing that knowledge to build a competing entity. The strategic depth of this betrayal cannot be overstated. It sets the stage for a personal grudge match that will define the sport for the next 5 years.
But let's not forget the previous owners. Renault's role here is highly significant. The sources mentioned they were quietly stepping out.
Yeah.
How do you quietly step out of a Formula One commitment while securing a $665 million paycheck?
Well, Renault's quiet exit suggests a corporate fatigue and perhaps a realistic recognition of their competitive limitations.
They were stuck in the midfield.
They have struggled immensely to find consistent success in the current turbo hybrid era, constantly finishing in the midfield despite massive investment. This sale, at this staggering valuation, represents a highly profitable strategic exit.
It's a golden parachute for them.
It is. They salvaged substantial financial value from a fading midfield team that was demanding increasing capital expenditure without yielding titles.
So it's an opportunistic exit for Renault. They get a clean break, a massive windfall, and they clear the path for a powerful new player.
Essentially getting paid to fix the competitive balance of the grid.
Exactly.
Renault may have recognized that the corporate structure, the slow, bureaucratic nature of a large French automotive giant, was antithetical to the high-speed ruthlessness needed to win in F1 today.
And Horner has that in spades.
Horner, backed by hyper-flexible private equity, could inject the operational aggression they couldn't. It is telling that a major factory team was willing to hand over its entire operation to a single team principal. It highlights the profound level of frustration they had reached.
Frustration with their own performance in the face of Red Bull's dominance.
The very dominance Horner created.
The money trail we just followed explains how Horner did it, but the resulting chaos shows us who he targeted. And the first, most crucial victim of this $665 million transaction is Max Verstappen's professional loyalty. This is where the human element of the betrayal hits hardest.
It really is.
Because the critical conflict is that Verstappen, the reigning triple world champion, the very pillar of Red Bull's recent dominance, was not informed of the deal in advance.
This is the definitive breach of trust, and its consequences are cataclysmic. Verstappen and Horner didn't just have a working relationship.
Is much more than that.
Horner had become Max's political and operational shield, protecting him from the internal strife and corporate interference we previously discussed. For Horner to pull off a $665 million operation that directly targets Red Bull
And do it behind Max's back.
and do it behind the back of the driver whose loyalty he guaranteed is seen internally as the ultimate professional betrayal.
Let's discuss the evidence of that internal rupture. We have leaked text messages between Verstappen and key Red Bull engineers that confirm the alleged rage and betrayal.
Yes.
What exactly does that level of fury from a usually reserved champion indicate about the stability of the Red Bull garage right now, just weeks before the season?
It indicates that the team is paralyzed by emotional and institutional instability. When the star driver is communicating his fury directly to the core engineering team,
The people who build his car?
the people responsible for the car's setup and performance, it demonstrates a complete collapse of trust in the senior management remaining at Red Bull. They have lost the faith of their champion.
And then there's the quote.
We have the alleged quote, which has now become the immediate threat defining this crisis. If Christian walks, I walk. Simple as that.
That quote is the smoking gun. It demonstrates that the depth of their loyalty was so intertwined that Verstappen views Horner's exit as rendering his own multi-million-dollar contract effectively void.
Emotionally, if not yet legally.
Exactly.
It is the ultimate leverage point. Max's contract suddenly means nothing if the competitive environment he relies upon, the one designed and maintained by Horner, is gone. Red Bull holds a contract, but Horner holds the blueprint for Verstappen's success.
And this is where Horner's strategy really becomes clear.
The real fascination lies in Horner's response to this chaos, because this is where his long-term strategic plotting becomes undeniable. While Horner is publicly tight-lipped on Verstappen's future, his actions at the Alpine factory speak volumes.
Here is where it gets really interesting and highly specific. Alpine engineers have already been instructed to prepare a chassis upgrade specifically matching Verstappen's preferred driving setup.
That cannot be accidental.
Not a chance.
No, that is a direct, calculated invitation executed before the ink was even dry on the Alpine contract. This is Horner plotting the ultimate chess move to destabilize Red Bull further and potentially poach their most valuable asset.
He knows exactly what Max wants in a car.
He knows exactly what Max needs to be comfortable and fast. Let's get technical for a moment. Max's unique driving style is predicated on aggressive trail braking and demanding a highly stable rear end,
Right.
which allows him to rotate the car aggressively mid-corner without fearing snap oversteer.
So he's unique in how late he brakes and how much stability he requires at that critical point of turn-in.
Precisely. Most modern F1 cars sacrifice some rear stability for overall aero efficiency, but Max demands a car balanced specifically for his aggressive input.
So by telling Alpine to do this,
By instructing Alpine to immediately tailor a chassis upgrade, likely focusing on rear suspension kinematics and differential setup to these precise characteristics, Horner is sending an undeniable physical signal to Verstappen.
and that signal is,
I am building your championship car, free from the corporate and technical compromises you hated at Red Bull.
it's a genius maneuver because it bypasses the contract negotiation and speaks directly to the driver's desire for performance and control.
It's pure psychological warfare.
Verstappen wants a car built for him, and Horner is promising him exactly that.
Horner understands that Max does not chase money alone. He chases control over his competitive environment and, most importantly, the assurance that his team principal has his back.
Something he no longer has at Red Bull.
At Alpine, under Horner's sole operational command, he would have absolute trust and control. This move instantaneously throws the entire 2026 driver market into turmoil.
Every single seat is now in question.
Every single seat, particularly at top teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren, is now contingent on whether Verstappen forces an early catastrophic exit from Red Bull based on this betrayal.
If Verstappen leaves, The talent pipeline starts shifting immediately. So what does this all mean for the immediate F1 power dynamic?
The current power dynamic is incredibly fragile.
Red Bull may possess the resources and the facilities, but if their most valuable asset, the driver, views the institution as fundamentally unstable, their dominance is over.
Their decade-long dominance is under immediate existential threat. Verstappen's leverage is immense because Red Bull cannot afford to lose him while simultaneously facing the massive regulatory shift coming in 2026.
And Horner knows it.
Horner knows this, and he is weaponizing his detailed internal knowledge of Verstappen's operational preferences to destabilize his former team. Preparing that specialized chassis isn't just technical readiness, it's psychological warfare aimed squarely at Red Bull's competitive heart.
It signals that Horner didn't just walk away.
He took the blueprint for success with him, and he's using it to court the king.
If Max's reaction was rage and betrayal, the reaction at Red Bull was pure institutional fury and panic.
A complete meltdown.
The internal reaction was immediate, and it launched the civil war we knew was brewing between the race team and the corporate structure.
The sources confirm the institutional collapse is now publicly visible. The anecdote detail here is perhaps the most definitive sign of the internal explosion.
The Helmut Marko story.
Helmut Marko reportedly stormed out of a board meeting in Salzburg upon discovering the scale and secrecy of Horner's plans.
And Marko is not just some figurehead.
No, he is the institutional gatekeeper, the closest link to the original Red Bull vision, and the person solely responsible for the driver development program that brought Max Verstappen to F1.
So for him to lose it publicly,
his public, uncontrollable loss of composure is a definitive, unscripted sign that the fracture runs right up to the highest levels of management and ownership.
Storming out of a board meeting isn't just disagreement. It's a declaration that the foundational trust within Red Bull's leadership structure is obliterated.
It's unrecoverable. It suggests a profound, unrecoverable loss of control. This was clearly not a harmonious or negotiated parting of ways.
Not even remotely.
Not even remotely. We must analyze this as Horner's declaration of war, fueled by his long-standing frustration with what he viewed as unnecessary and damaging corporate interference from Salzburg.
Interference that was slowing them down.
Constantly complicating the speed and singularity of purpose required for F1 decision-making. Horner didn't just resign from a bad situation. He proactively built a rival entity and strategically weaponized it to directly compete against the exact structure he resented.
He's fighting his former masters on his own terms.
And Red Bull's response shows they understand the immediate threat is human capital, not money.
Right, they've already launched legal action to block senior personnel from leaving.
A move of desperation.
What exactly are they trying to achieve with these legal countermeasures, and how effective are they likely to be?
Red Bull is desperately trying to enforce strict non-compete clauses and non-solicitation agreements, particularly for their high-value technical staff, those race engineers and aero specialists.
They're trying to stop the bleeding.
They are attempting to put up legal barriers to stem the bleeding, but this move actually highlights their deep vulnerability. They know the talent drain is real, and they know Horner knows exactly who to target because he hired, trained, and promoted them.
But the effectiveness of those legal clauses is often questionable in F1, isn't it?
It is.
Especially when dealing with international employment contracts involving Monaco-registered personnel or entities.
That's the core vulnerability. F1 contracts are notoriously complex, and enforcing non-competes against highly specialized personnel often requires long, drawn-out legal battles and garden leave periods.
Which they don't have time for.
Exactly. If Horner's shadow corporations are offering extremely lucrative compensation packages, often registered in favorable tax regimes, those legal barriers become very difficult for Red Bull to maintain quickly. They are trying to delay the exodus, but they know they can't stop it completely.
Let's focus on that talent drain, because this is the operational collapse that will define the 2026 season. Alpine is actively headhunting senior personnel.
And we know who.
Our sources specify who. Senior race engineers and aero specialists.
This is the critical existential detail. Horner is not poaching mid-level staff or support mechanics. He is targeting the intellectual capital.
The brains of the operation.
The institutional memory and the philosophy carriers of Red Bull Racing. Senior race engineers are the crucial link between the driver, the data, and the strategy.
They're everything on race day.
And aero specialists are the magicians who translate CFD simulations into physical on-track speed.
The transfer of these technical minds, this specific group, is why Red Bull's empire is confirmed to be cracking. You cannot easily replace decades of accumulated institutional knowledge.
Not just knowledge, but the specific technical philosophies that delivered championship-winning cars.
So what's the impact for 2026?
The impact analysis for 2026 is severe. Horner knows the Red Bull playbook, and he is removing the very people responsible for executing it.
He's taken the authors of the playbook with him.
Effectively, yes. The fact that some of these engineers and specialists have already accepted offers behind closed doors confirms that this was a coordinated, preemptive strike running parallel to the Alpine acquisition itself.
So this was planned months in advance.
They are building a shadow technical team ready to deploy the Red Bull methodology at Enstone before the legal action can even be fully processed.
So Christian Horner lit the fuse on his own former team. What is the maximum operational damage that can be inflicted by this sudden targeted exodus right before a major regulation change?
The damage is exponential and specifically timed. 2026 brings new power unit regulations and complex, sweeping chassis rules. The teams that transition successfully will need absolute continuity and creative momentum.
Which Red Bull no longer has.
By removing core aero specialists and race strategists, Horner guarantees Red Bull will have to spend the precious early months of 2026 stabilizing their suddenly hollowed-out technical department instead of optimizing their new car design.
He's slowing them down.
He is deliberately introducing friction and paralysis, slowing down Red Bull's development curve while simultaneously accelerating Alpine's using the very intellectual property he developed at Red Bull.
This isn't a messy divorce.
No, this is something else entirely.
It's an engineered industrial espionage attack using human capital. If the Red Bull camp is descending into legal and political chaos, then Enstone Alpine's UK base is undergoing rapid, brutal, and comprehensive transformation.
Under Horner's new, decisive leadership, he wasted zero time.
Now, let's cover the immediate executive action he took upon acquiring the team.
The speed and ruthlessness are textbook Horner. This isn't just about changing the direction, it's about eliminating the old culture immediately.
So what did he do?
Within hours of the announcement, he fired 3 top Alpine executives, likely those responsible for corporate liaison, commercial dealings, and maybe even a chief operating officer.
Cleared the deck.
He then instantly installed a new technical director sourced directly from Red Bull's inner circle. This move signals that he is not interested in gradual integration. He's clearing the deck of any corporate structure or personnel that might slow him down.
So he only trusts his own people.
He trusts his former Red Bull colleagues implicitly to translate his hyper-efficient operational philosophy to the new factory floor.
Firing 3 top executives instantly is a powerful, almost brutal statement. It tells every remaining staff member at Enstone that the era of midfield mediocrity is over.
And non-performance will not be tolerated for even a day. It immediately establishes dominance and aligns every employee toward his singular goal, winning.
And this transformation isn't just internal, it's external and visual too. Alpine is undergoing a full rebrand, rumored to include a return to the classic, fan favorite, Lotus-style black and gold livery.
Which is an iconic look.
Black and gold is absolutely iconic, signaling a link to F1 history and luxury. And we know this is heavily funded by those luxury investors in Horner's private equity network.
It's all about perception.
This move is about prestige, signaling high status, and maximizing sponsorship value, not just racing heritage.
It's a marketing masterstroke designed for the PE investors. The black and gold livery connects the team to a highly successful and glamorous chapter of the sport's history. Think glamour, innovation, and star drivers.
It's clean break from the old Alpine.
It instantly elevates the brand perception away from the struggling, staid blue of the recent Renault Alpine years. The luxury investors are clearly funding this aggressive visual overhaul because they recognize that F1 is the ultimate premium global platform.
So he's building a brand, not just a team.
Horner is building a brand designed to attract not only championships, but the highest tier of global non-automotive sponsorships, maximizing that $665 million investment.
Now let's dive into the detail that raises the most significant regulatory alarm and potential legal trouble. The IP controversy.
This is the big one.
Alpine's 2026 car, which was initially considered a slow backmarker design developed under the old regime, will receive a complete overhaul.
And the problem is how?
The alleged method is the problem. Using IP, intellectual property, Horner allegedly took with him from Red Bull.
This is the most shocking and volatile technical detail of the entire saga. We are talking about highly specialized, confidential design data.
Explain what that means for our listeners.
To be clear, F1 IP isn't just design files. It includes core proprietary technical methodologies, specialized CFD algorithms, unique suspension geometry concepts that give the car that stable rear end Max loves.
So it's not just blueprints, it's the whole philosophy.
Or sophisticated virtual modeling secrets that determine how the team structures their development phase. Horner, having just left the Red Bull inner sanctum, is now utilizing that knowledge directly in a rival team.
Wait, if this IP is foundational methodology, the unique way Red Bull calculates airflow or manages tire wear, how does Horner even possess it?
That's the key question.
Is it possible to take that without transferring massive amounts of physical data?
That's the gray area and the focus of the investigation. While transferring millions of CAD files is traceable, transferring methodology is far harder to prosecute.
So it's in people's heads.
It comes down to human memory and expertise. If Horner has recruited the chief aero specialist, that specialist carries the Red Bull philosophy in their head. They know the successful parameters, the optimization techniques, and the design paths that work.
But the sources suggest actual data breaches.
They do, but even without physical files, the knowledge transfer of those key personnel is the real theft.
And the FIA is already investigating possible data breaches. What does that inquiry entail, and how serious is this for the legitimacy of Alpine's 2026 car?
The investigation is preliminary, but carries immense weight. The FIA will be looking at forensic evidence, examining data access logs, email traffic, and potentially even cloud storage synchronization records.
So they're digging deep.
If they confirm proprietary Red Bull technical blueprints were illicitly transferred to Alpine, this is a massive regulatory violation that could result in severe sanctions.
Like what?
Fines, points deductions, or even restrictions on car development, though proving the link legally is incredibly complex. The precedent, of course, is the Spygate scandal, which shows the FIA takes IP breaches extremely seriously.
But regardless of the outcome, Horner's objective is clear and audacious.
Undeniably.
His target is to turn Alpine into a title-contending machine within one season.
The sheer audacity of that target cannot be overstated. A fundamental team transformation, even with unlimited funding, typically takes 2 to 3 years.
At least.
One for structural change, one for performance conversions, and one for a title challenge. Horner is attempting to bypass this using financial muscle, executive ruthlessness, and, crucially, alleged intellectual property theft.
He thinks he can shortcut the process.
He believes his operational mastery, combined with the instantly translated Red Bull technical genius, can bypass the usual development timelines. It's a tremendous, high-stakes gamble, staking his entire post-Red Bull reputation on rapid, undeniable success in 2026.
The moment the news broke, the paddock reaction was electric and highly volatile. This deal isn't just a business transaction that interests accountants.
No, not at all.
It's being perceived across the grid as a moral and competitive breach of the spirit of Formula One.
Volatile is an understatement. The other major teams, Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari, see this as an existential threat, not just to Red Bull's technical lead, but to the competitive integrity and future structure of the sport itself.
Let's start with Lewis Hamilton's view, as he is often the conscience of the sport. He called the move disturbing.
He did.
Claiming it proves power in F1 is being bought, not earned.
Hamilton's perspective reflects the traditional F1 meritocracy. He is speaking from the position of a champion who built his success through years of painstaking collaboration, stable corporate backing, and earning his championships through competitive effort.
So he sees this as a cheat code.
His statement implies that Horner's move undermines that core value of fairness, suggesting that sheer, secretive financial power can circumvent the necessity of honest development and hard racing efforts. He frames Horner as a disruptor.
One who's willing to break the unspoken rules.
Exactly, willing to break unspoken political and ethical rules to achieve victory quickly.
And Charles Leclerc, dealing with his own entirely different Ferrari contract pressures, managed to inject some much-needed humor into the situation.
Which is great to see.
Joking. Maybe I should buy a team too, if that's what it takes to win.
Leclerc's comment, while humorous, is deeply revealing. It underscores the growing sense of frustration among top drivers who rely on vast, often slow-moving corporate structures that may not be delivering championships.
It highlights the disparity.
Why rely on bureaucratic, politically unstable structures when you can simply buy the platform, the IP, and the personnel you need? It's a cynical reflection of the economic reality today. That money translates directly into competitive control.
But the real weight of this reaction comes from the regulatory side. The FIA has launched a preliminary inquiry specifically into the funding sources behind the $665 million deal, beyond just the IP concern.
This is the investigation that should genuinely worry Horner and his silent investors the most. The FIA is not just concerned about the source of the technical design data.
They're following the money.
They are concerned about the transparency and integrity of the financial structure underpinning the new Alpine. The inquiry targets specific ethical and regulatory concerns,
Such as
conflict of interest, unfair influence over regulatory bodies, and hidden partnerships with suppliers already tied to Red Bull's prior operation.
Let's define conflict of interest clearly in this specific scenario, beyond the obvious competitive rivalry with Red Bull.
In F1 governance, a conflict of interest could arise if one of Horner's shadow corporations or its silent private equity partners is found to hold significant stakes in F1 suppliers,
Especially for the new regulations.
especially those supplying standardized or sensitive technical parts for the 2026 power unit regulations. For example, if an investor in Alpine also holds a stake in the company manufacturing the standardized engine sensors,
That'd be a huge problem.
any overlap would present a severe ethical and regulatory headache for the FIA, as it suggests the potential for information leakage or preferential treatment regarding future rule changes or supply chain access.
And the regulatory influence concern is massive because team principles are central to how the sport evolves. Horner has always been highly political.
Absolutely. As a long-standing, high-ranking figure, Horner has deep established relationships with FIA technical and governance personnel. The concern is that the vast secretive financial power backing Alpine could be leveraged into undue influence
Influence on what?
on future technical regulations, compliance decisions, or even the policing of the budget cap. This isn't just about winning races, it's about control over the rule book itself, a far more valuable prize than a single trophy.
And this fear has mobilized the competition. Mercedes and McLaren are demanding a closed-door emergency summit before the Australian Grand Prix.
This action is a definitive sign that rival teams view the entire Alpine acquisition as an existential threat to the competitive balance of F1.
They're not waiting around.
They are not waiting for the slow grind of the FIA inquiry. They want immediate, concrete assurances. They were worried about the precedent.
The precedent being,
If a successful principal can simply monetize their operational knowledge, acquire a rival team, and leverage their old team's talent and alleged IP, the playing field becomes impossibly skewed, rewarding betrayal over fair competition.
so to reiterate the stakes as we head into this inevitable showdown, this isn't just about money changing hands.
No, it's much bigger than that.
It's about control over the governance and competitive heart of the sport. That emergency summit will be a crucible for the future power structure of Formula One.
A huge moment.
Let's pivot to the future. The 2026 Australian Grand Prix has instantly become the most anticipated season opener in years. The spotlight is going to be blinding, focused squarely on one garage.
The atmosphere will be absolutely electric and fraught with tension. Horner is expected to appear publicly in Alpine colors for the first time during the race weekend.
Not just as a principal.
Likely not just as a principal, but as the visible owner. His presence will dominate the paddock. The cameras will not just be on the cars, they will be dissecting every interaction between Red Bull and Alpine personnel.
In a way, theater.
This will be an instant public barometer of the internal war he started and the extent of the exodus.
The garage analysis. Alpine's new garage is being radically restructured, Red Bull fans are in chaos, and the driver market is, as our sources state, spinning out of control.
And out of that chaos, a new competitive entity is taking shape.
What are people calling it?
We must analyze the structure of this new entity. Insiders have already branded it Team Horner. This is crucial terminology because it signifies a paradigm shift.
A shift away from the brand.
The identity of the team is now synonymous with the singular personality and ambition of its owner principal, rather than the historic brand of Alpine or Renault or traditional corporate interests.
This is his personal project.
Built on staggering, aggressive financial power and a singular, determined desire to control F1's next regulatory era.
What does that mean for the internal culture at Enstone? We talk about him firing executives, but how does the Team Horner philosophy translate to daily operational intensity?
It translates to ruthlessness, speed, and efficiency qualities that Alpine sorely lacked under corporate French ownership. Horner's philosophy is always hyper-focused on performance optimization, minimizing bureaucracy,
And empowering his key people.
and empowering his core technical leaders, which is exactly why he brought in a new technical director from his Red Bull inner circle. The culture will be driven by sky-high expectation, immense stress, and a demand for immediate results.
All funded by what seems like limitless wealth.
It's an environment specifically designed to attract technical talent seeking a definitive path to the top, away from the political squabbles and slow decision-making of established corporate teams.
Let's discuss the immediate implications for the future driver market, specifically heading into 2027. If Max makes his move, where do the pieces fall after that?
The driver market for 2027 has become a poker game where Horner holds the biggest chip, the promise of a title-contending car and operational control.
So Alpine is now a top destination.
Alpine may now instantly become the primary destination for rising stars who feel blocked or overlooked at traditional teams, or for established veterans seeking a final, secure championship challenge.
He can afford anyone.
Horner has an immediate pathway to building a title contender and the financial backing to pay top dollar for talent like a Lando Norris or an Alex Albon should they become available.
Conversely, could Alpine become a high-risk trap for champions trying to escape existing team wars?
That's a great question.
I mean, if the IP controversy or regulatory investigations slow them down or lead to sanctions.
That is the essential risk, and it's a massive one. Champions, especially those facing internal team friction, like Verstappen currently is, will view Alpine as the ultimate escape route.
An opportunity for guaranteed control.
Exactly. However, if the FIA crackdown on the funding sources or the IP breach is severe, or if the technical transition proves too ambitious for one single season, those drivers could find themselves trapped in a powerful but legally constrained operation.
Stuck in limbo.
Unable to genuinely challenge for the title while the team fights legal battles. The risk is high, but the potential reward winning outside of the corporate structures that constrain Horner is exponentially higher.
The conclusion for our listeners as we head into the next phase of this unprecedented story is critical. This is not the same Alpine that finished the 2025 season struggling in the midfield.
Absolutely not. They have shed their corporate baggage, gained $665 million in private equity funding, acquired a completely new technical core, and, most importantly,
They have Horner.
they have secured an operational master who is arguably the most successful team principal of the modern era. This is now a fully weaponized, title-hungry outfit backed by staggering, aggressive wealth and run by one of F1's most ruthless and knowledgeable operators.
It's a fundamental shift.
Horner has gone from managing an empire to building a personal kingdom, and the first shot of the war has been fired.
We have dissected the sheer speed and magnitude of this acquisition, the secretive $665 million price tag, the shadowy financial backing, the nuclear fallout between Max Verstappen and his former team boss.
And the serious IP controversy that now has the FIA frantically involved.
We have truly witnessed a shift in power, a shift bought with staggering financial capital and executed through audacious operational sabotage. A challenge that disrupts everything off the track and promises to rewrite the story on it.
The sources have provided the facts, and the implications are monumental. Now, for the final provocative thought we leave you with.
Go on.
If Christian Horner, now the owner and principal of a rival team, successfully poaches Max Verstappen and wins a championship with Alpine using the key talent and intellectual capital he allegedly took from Red Bull,
Then what?
does this confirm that personality, ambition, and financial control coupled with ruthlessness are the ultimate currency in modern Formula One?
And what terrifying landscape will we face if every successful team principal and technical director decides the best, most lucrative, and fastest way to win is to simply monetize their knowledge and buy their own rival, rather than toil under restrictive corporate management?
It suggests that the stability of the entire F1 ecosystem is now based purely on the whims of private wealth.
That is the massive question hanging over the paddock.
And the answer will start to unfold when the lights go green at the Australian Grand Prix.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the most volatile, complex news F1 has seen in a generation. Process this massive information, because the 2026 season begins now.